What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast. I have a very special friend for y'all today. Her name is Kala Simmons. You may also know her as Kala with the Curlz. She is a certified master life coach, master's level social worker, program director in a psychiatric unit, skincare consultant, adoptive mother, singer, friend, and so much more. I cannot wait for y'all to hear her story, so listen in. So, you know, you could also just sing a little melody to check it out for me, too, since you don't ever do that.
I was like, she's totally going to be like, Kayla, you never sing anymore.
I know, you don't. You don't ever sing anymore.
I don't. Occasionally.
Well, do you want to do a little riff for us?
A riff of what, John? What would you want me to sing?
I don't know. You do Mariah Carey so well.
Do I?
Like this, or Lauryn Hill's The Eye on the Sparrow, Mariah Carey Hero. Either one of those songs would be great.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen you forever, but you'll always be a part of me. I'm part of you indefinitely. Girl, no, you know you can't escape me. Ooh, Jonna, 'cause you'll always be my baby.
Okay, woo! Girl, you got to just get on that Instagram and just start singing. I'm just saying. How have you been?
I have been great. Honestly, I've been great. I know you guys see me online, like, well, your audience doesn't know me, but people see me online all the time.
Yeah.
But, like, honestly, I am better than I've been in a long time.
Well, I kind of want to get into that, but first, obviously, you're Kala with the Curlz for the people that don't know.
Yes.
You do everything from, you were a social worker. Now you're kind of diving into life coaching, and we're going to see how you transition into that and what you're currently doing now and how they kind of intertwine with each other. But I thought that was perfect for May, so I'm so glad you said you would finally do this since we've been trying, because May is obviously Mental Health Month, so I think this could obviously help people, and I've just been diving a little bit more into mental health in my podcast and talking about my situation and just personal stories. So tell us your background. Like, obviously, I've known you since high school, but I didn't know you well, as in we never talked about like what you wanted to do as a career choice. So were you thinking like social work, mental health in high school? Like you were always like, this is my career choice and where I want to go?
So when I was at Franklin County High School, I had an instructor in 10th grade. It was Beth Mason, actually, and she was my psychology teacher, and I fell in love with Miss Mason, and I was like, I want to do this. So I was in 10th grade. I was like, I'm going to go into psych. My mom is a social worker. I come from a very helping profession family, nurses, social workers, teachers. And so, yeah, I knew very early. I went to junior college, and I always wanted to do psych, but I didn't know how. And by the time I got to college, I was like, okay, social work might be my thing. But I thought I wanted to work with kids. I did that.
She's like, I thought I wanted to work with kids.
I did. So I did that for about 4 years. I worked with children, and I really liked it, especially working with children with behavioral disturbances whose parents had substance abuse issues. When I adopted my children, I recognized it was too much to work with kids all day and then to come home and have my kids and all the stuff they had going on. So I decided to start working with adults, and that's when I found my niche. And I was like, oh, I love this. This is fun.
So first, I don't really know the story about how you adopted your children, which I think is amazing in itself for anyone that can adopt. My friend Megan wanted to adopt. She still wants to adopt, but she ended up having a baby, and she was like, oops, well, she was like, this is one and done, and I will be adopting from here on out.
Yes.
So how did you adopt your children? How did that story play out for you?
Okay, so I met my husband, or my ex-husband rather, the day after I turned 21. And so we dated for about 2.5, almost 3 years, and then we got married. At that time, his sister was super struggling with substance abuse issues. I was like going to Al-Anon with her, like working the program. And essentially the deal was her children would come and live with us. She'd work the program. They'd go back and live with her. Like that was the deal. But about 2.5 years in, they're still in DCS custody, and she's not doing the program. And, you know, my mom worked for DCS, like my whole family, and I grew up in a 2-parent home. Like, this is what you do. Nobody goes to DCS. We take care of them. Like, they're going to have to live with us. Like, it was the easiest yes I ever said. I was like 23 years old, so I'm looking at it, I'm like, you are out of your mind. Like, what were you thinking?
Well, that just shows
But
your big heart. You just have a
it,
big heart.
yes, huge heart. And so they moved in. We adopted them after a year and then got divorced in 8 months after that. So it was like super spiral. Like everything that could possibly happen happened in like a 4-year span.
Do you think it was the children? Like, because they say that when you're married and you bring children into the home or have your own children, it makes the marriage harder. Or do you think there was already issues in the marriage and then that kind of bringing the kids in brought forth the issues to light?
Definitely the latter. So, in talking with my clients now, my sorority sisters, friends, myself included, I have never met a divorced woman who didn't know that this person wasn't the choice for them before they went down the aisle, right?
Right.
And so at that time, I was young, social worker. I'm wide-eyed. I can change the world. I can love you into whatever I need to do.
Hey, that's not just you, honey. That's every woman in this world. I could love you into change. You can change.
Yes. So obviously that didn't happen, but I do think that having the new stress of being parents, like that's definitely something couples need to talk about is how were you raised? People who were raised on love and people who were raised on survival is completely different. So like it was a
1000%.
jungle out there for me because I'm like, they're crying, or why are we yelling? Like, it kind of exacerbated things. And when you're going through the adoption process, you have an extra set of eyes that's constantly like looking and checking. And so when that set of eyes is gone, you see who people truly are. And I'm like, I would never, that's not a punishment. Like, what are you doing? And so I think for me, it was, I have protected you from the elements. I've been this mom for you. And now that means that I have to step up and be a mom even without him.
Right.
Thank God he's grown so much. And we have a really good, amicable relationship now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but it was about a 6-year period when I was like, this is a business transaction.
Well, I was about to say, like, obviously you adopted someone that wasn't even technically your family, blood related, but you had this big heart to take in these children that obviously were his family, which he's your family at this time. So obviously it is your family, but then you get a divorce a year after you adopt his sister's children.
Yes.
So after y'all got divorced, did they stay with you then?
Yes, they did. And they were with me for 6 years before transitioning back to his house. And that made dating so complicated. It's like, right. Yes, I'm divorced and I have 2 children that I adopted that belong to my ex-husband's sister.
Hey, that makes a first great date story.
It's like, Jerry. So it made things complicated. However, I knew that they needed the love. And it makes me feel really good now because they'll be like, this kid asked me where my real mom is and you are my real mom. I'm like, they meant your bio mom. And like, they're older now, but like that transition felt really good to me because it's like, you did right by the kids. And that's what happened.
How old were they when you brought them into the home?
They were 3 and 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And they're in high school now or something you posted the other day?
My baby just My baby just turned 14, and my oldest will be 16 in November.
That is insane, Kayla.
Yeah.
Time has flown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're not supposed to ask women this, but do you want children of your own?
No.
Okay.
But I've never wanted
Me either.
And I think people give you that like cringe look, and I'm like, no, like there's nothing wrong with me. I have mothered so many kids, not just these kids, but working with kids through the church. I have like 7 nieces and nephews.
Girl, same. So like me, you know my family. So I have like 13 nieces and nephews, and I've known them since they were itty bitty babies, and I was 10 years old. And I'm like, I've been a mom. What are you talking about?
Yes, I've been a mom. I was 12 when I got my first niece, right? And we all lived in the house together. And like that so like I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. And so I do know that there are women out there who want kids and they can't have kids. And by all means, like I am sorry for that situation, but I don't feel any kind of way.
Right. Now, do you feel like adopted more children? Or are you kind of done with that?
So my boyfriend has a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I jokingly say to him all the time, like, I get whatever I want for the rest of my life because you have a 4-year-old. Like, my kids are grown. Like, I'm down. In 4 years, I'd be done.
Right. All right. So you were a social worker, adopted these children, and then now you're transitioning into life coaching. Are you still doing social work with it?
Yes. So actually, life coaching is like, it's my side hustle. It is my
Okay. I didn't know if it was your full time or not.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's my dream, is to have like a full life coaching business and programs and seminars for women to come and like get their life together. Currently, I am a program director at the largest psych facility in Tennessee.
Oh,
I do
wow.
training and like helping patients with goal attainment. And so that's how I'm utilizing my social work degree now. And I love it. By all means, I love it. It gives me the opportunity to see like the people who are the sickest, like the most mentally ill, transition and like get better and go to group homes or back out in the community. I picked up life coaching after I realized that people were coming to me all the time for advice. And I'm like, I totally need to make this a thing.
Yeah.
Like, to be a thing. And lots of people are like, Kayla, why didn't you do therapy? Because lots of people are terrified of therapy. Like, they're like, I don't want to go back to therapy. I don't want to have to open it. And I'm like, life coaching is completely different because we're working with what happened right now.
So explain, I was going to ask you, so explain the difference between life coaching versus going to therapy, like traditional sit down talk therapy.
Okay, so with traditional like sit down talk therapy, you are going to, now if you do brief strategic, you would be working with what happens right now. But typical therapy is going to look at past trauma, and they're going to dig really deep into that, and they're going to talk about who hurt you, what happened to you, like why are you doing this, how can we solve this. Like, it's very, very psychoanalysis, and therapy takes a license, board certification, years and years and years of schooling. So like, hats off to therapists. I do not like that at all whatsoever. Life coaching, on the other hand, is not a regulated field. Literally anybody could be a life coach. However, I do feel like you should go through a program like I did.
Or even have a life calling for it, because it's almost the same as like the nursing field, where people are just doing it for quote unquote money and they're not good at it.
Yes. You need some sort of strategy, some sort of calling, some sort of, this is why I'm here. I feel like I've always been a person that roots for the underdog, a person that like everybody's included. Like, even though I was one of the popular kids, I did not hang out with the popular kids. Like,
yeah, you hung out with me. I wasn't popular.
Don't say that. I'm like, I was the girl who wanted to cheer in front of the band. I'm like, please put me in. So I think that coaching, on the other hand, is more, we work in the here and now. And so it's very much, I'm sorry that happened to you. Yes, your childhood sucked. What are we going to do about it now? You're not 7 anymore.
Right.
We're not 16 anymore. And that period of your life was horrible. I acknowledge that, but you have the power now. And so we talk more about inner child work and you learning to comfort your inner child and working now to achieve goals for later. It's not acknowledging that it didn't happen, but some people just don't want to live through that over and over.
Right. So that was one of the biggest things with therapy that I had. Like, I love my therapist. I've been in therapy for a while. And of course, like, changing therapists, like if you're not, jiving, I guess, with your current therapist, you have to relive that trauma over and over and over. And people sit in that trauma because they're like, well, I'm just going to stay with this therapist because I'm not going to tell this whole story again. And then I have noticed like life coaching is becoming more of a thing. And I've honestly thought about, I don't know. I love my therapist and I think therapy does help, but I feel like I need an additional push for someone to say, no, you're going to do this, and that's harder than a therapist just advising you, because they can't tell you what to, they can obviously give you advice, but a life coach you're paying where insurance is not paying for it. And they're like, hey, these are the steps you're going to have to take.
Yes. I'm very, my clients say I'm so blunt because I'm like, okay, so what are we talking about this week? Did you do your homework? They're like, no. And I'm like, so what are we talking about this week? Because like, you're working with me because I'm holding you accountable for doing what you said you were going to do. In therapy, it's more so very slower pace. Okay, well, you don't have to do that today. It's supporting and guiding someone through an experience that may be, months, years long, versus life coaching is, hey sis, you said you were taking the phone call. You said you were deleting the contacts.
So we all know what you're talking about there. Men.
Basically. And so they're like, well, Kayla, I didn't do it. I'm like, okay, well, let's plan something else, because we're not going to keep working on a goal that you have no interest in attaining that. And I'm not mad at you, but let's not pretend.
Well, I mean, that's what some people need. And I think I'm one of those people that need that, like, that accountability, because like I can listen to you all day long. I can talk all day long. I do this podcast. That's why I have it. Like, I'm very good, and I will hold myself accountable. Like, I'm good about, what's it called? When I just thought, why do I lose my train of thought sometimes? I'm very good at, like, when I'm trying to see the whole situation. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can understand your perception of things, but where my faulting is like somewhere in my childhood that I don't really care to relive. I constantly have to apologize or feel like I was always in the wrong when I wasn't. It's like I know
Mm-hmm.
what I said was not wrong, but why do I
Mm-hmm.
feel bad about it?
Yes.
So things like that, I would
Yeah.
assume.
And a coach can help you with that for sure. I know people who see both. So if someone is experiencing like extreme depression, like overwhelming anxiety, if their trauma is so bad that it's inhibiting their daily life, they probably do need to work with a therapist until they're ready for coaching. Coaching is going to be for someone who is a little bit more in control, a little bit more self-aware, who says, honestly, I just need somebody to kick my butt and make me do it. Right?
Because I know what I'm doing is wrong.
Yes.
Like I keep texting the man that won't text me back, but I don't know how to stop.
Yes, and your coach is going to be like, why did you do that?
Right. Versus, well, can you tell me why you did it? No, I can't. I don't know why.
Yes, definitely.
Now, do you see mostly women or only women when you're doing your coaching?
Only women. So you'll find surprising, on Instagram, I have a very large women following or lady following. On Facebook, most of my views are from men, and I get inboxes all the time. Thank you so much for saying this. You've been so helpful for me.
Oh.
Women will reach out and be like, my boyfriend listens to you all the time. It's really helped our relationship. So I'm like, maybe I should open up some for men. But my clientele is designed for women who are starting over, like life, love, career, literally anything, because it's literally the only thing I've ever been good at. Because I will walk, I care not.
Well, maybe you should do like a couple of men just to see, because I think it would help men have a female coach, because sometimes I think that the issue between men and women are that we truly just don't understand each other. It took me a long time, like when I was dating people, to be like, I want him to read my mind, right? Like, why is he not asking me on a date?
Yeah.
Why is he not texting me first? And then I got to the point where I was like, well, fuck it. If I want to talk to him, why don't I just text him? Why don't I ask him out? But we as women have this perception in our brain that we're not supposed to do that. And like men don't even know they're over there playing football or something, playing golf, going, I didn't know you wanted to.
Yes.
And then it becomes this big thing.
It's a communication thing. Like we, as women, and I hate to say this, but as women, we're not always the best communicators.
Right.
And men are very simple creatures. Very simple. So it's like, say what you want.
Yeah.
And then, well, Kayla, I don't want to have to say everything that I want. It's like, you want them to read your mind. Great.
Right. And that's what it takes. But you don't think about that until someone says it out loud. And then like it stuck with me maybe a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, like people aren't mind readers. And then when it happens to you, like you don't realize like, oh, like when someone's like, what, you didn't read my mind? And you're like, no, I'm not a mind reader.
Yeah. Yes.
It takes it to happening to you. I think for people who are like, oh, because I used an example, I think in last week's podcast, because it was on perception, how women want men to be mind readers, like women who like get upset with dishes in the sink, for instance, and they're laying in the bed, huffing and puffing and rolling over. And the guy's like, what is wrong with you? And they're like, nothing. And like, they really don't know that you're upset about dishes in the sink. And it's like, why can't you just say, hey, before we go to bed, can you please clean out the sink?
Yes. Yeah, very simple expectations. Like if you set that early, it's fine. Or you say, I really appreciate it when you clean out the sink. And men love to please you. So men, masculine men, they love to please you. They're going to do more of whatever it is. So yes, we're going to throw a party. When you catch him clean, you're so fine. When you throw dishes in the dishwasher, they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
They're very simple.
Right. And when you say expectations, something I heard, who said it? It might have been Ace Metaphor. Do you follow him on Instagram?
I do follow Ace Metaphor, but his videos don't always pop up.
He's hilarious. And he says some real ass shit. Like he was talking about expectations or maybe, I don't know who it was. Maybe Jay Shetty. But somebody said, we have expectations, but we also don't say them out loud on the first date. So if your expectation is, hey, in my last relationship, he I don't know, blew me off, didn't text, didn't call, I felt like I wasn't important. And you set that expectation up front and say, hey, my expectation is this, and I will only settle for this. So if you go below that bar, you got to go. He was like, we don't say that, and we don't set those expectations. And then the women that don't stick with it.
Yes.
So then the guy's like, oh, well, you said you were going to leave and you didn't.
Yes. So we're using the term expectations, and I guess what we should be saying is standards. Because when
Yes.
someone doesn't meet our expectations, then that's our fault because we set them up here. But if it's a standard, then it's what hey, I deserve this. This is what I need from someone in order to feel happy, to feel safe, to feel secure. If
Right.
you provide it, I'm out. And he's right. You've got to go. Because all the time they're like, and I'm going to leave. And I'm like, so how did the party go? Well, he didn't do this, but I stayed. Well, girl.
Well, and it's hard, right? Because you've invested all this time and you don't want to start over. So it's hard. And you're like you said, I'm going to love them into treating me right. I'm just going to give them more of me because they'll give me more of them. And that's not how it works. And I'm just now learning that myself through
Yes.
Jay Shetty's book, listening to Ace Metaphor. Like, it's actually not how it's going to work. If a man's going to respect you, he's going to respect you no matter
Right.
what end of the spectrum you're on, whether you're given a little or given a lot. So the more
Correct.
you give doesn't get more respect. It's
No.
not how it works.
And I was this way as well. So I'm so happy to hear you say that time is not a good predictor of how long or if you should stay. It's
Right.
like I think all the time, like I have spent with my husband or my ex-husband, I was with him for 7 years. And with my ex-fiance, we were together for 6.5. That is time that I cannot get back. And so it's kind of like I use that. We've been together for so long. We've been together for so long. I don't want to start over. Starting over was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right. You launched this business.
I
You
did all
found
this-
yourself.
Yes, all these things. So I tell women all the time, do not think about how long you've been there. Think about, can you be treated like this eternally? For the rest of your life, if nothing ever changed, is this what you want? If the answer is no, figure out how to fix it or bounce.
Right. Because I feel in my heart of hearts that if someone truly loves you, man, woman, indifferent, whatever, then you grow together. Like they want to change with you because they don't want to lose you.
Right.
And like Ace always says, like if someone is in your life, they should always double what you have, not subtract. So if you're starting this business, you should not be making less money. You should be making double the money because you have the support behind you of, baby, go ahead, do your thing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That is so funny. I had this week, I said, I think I want a flower wall. And my boyfriend was like, a flower wall? So I screenshot all these pictures on Pinterest. I'm like, a flower wall. Yesterday, I get an Amazon delivery of this flower wall. And he's like, if you need more, let me know. And I'm like, I didn't have to beg. I just said, I think I want a flower wall, and here it is. And it's like, I've never had that experience before because I was not valuing myself. The moment that you start valuing yourself and you walk around like you're that girl, everybody around you sees you as that girl.
I was about to say, like you also mentioned yesterday in your Instagram story, self-esteem and like stop apologizing. Do you find that in your coaching, that's probably the number one thing that causes issues in women's life, whether it be career or relationships, because that self-esteem has been knocked so low that they don't know how great they are as a person?
Yes, I definitely. Self-esteem, confidence, feeling like you're worthy of stuff. Like we settle for things because we don't feel like we're worthy of more. Like we would not be, if someone was late to a meeting with us, we wouldn't be like, you're late. We would be like, oh, are you okay? Like you're very, like, I'm waiting for you. And so you have to start saying, thank you. Thank you for catching that for me. Thank you for waiting for me. Thank you for thinking of me, instead of, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I recognized that I was apologizing for stuff, as you said before. I was not wrong. This is not my fault. So why am I apologizing?
Right.
Yeah. And so I started saying, I hate that you see things that way.
That's great. That's what I'm going to say. I'm so sorry that you view it in that light, but that's not my perception of things.
Correct.
That's exactly what my podcast was on last week, was like how, everyone says there's three sides of the story, like your side, my side, and the truth. It's actually three sides or three perceptions of the story, because that's where the truth lies, right? The truth is the actual truth. And then I have my perception and you have your perception of what happened. Right. And what would make the world a better place is if we could sit down, whether it take 24 or 48 hours, and say, how is this other person viewing this way? And can you try to see it from their lens that they're looking at life through? Because that's what I try to do. I try to say, well, why did they get upset in this situation? Okay, well, I can see that they got upset because of X, Y, and Z. Now, I don't necessarily agree with X, Y, and Z, but I can see how it happened.
Right.
And that's called growth.
Yes, but that's growth. It is. And it's being willing to acknowledge that maybe I'm not right. And for whatever reason, as humans, we feel like if we're not right or we take accountability for being wrong, then it means something about us. instead of just meaning that we're human or that we missed something. And it's like, that's totally okay. That's the human experience. But yes, taking that moment to take a step back and be like, am I blowing things out of proportion?
9 out of 10 times? Yes.
Nosediving.
That's hilarious. So, what would you say your coaching style is with your clients? Is because I know there's like different types. Like I know you just said like you hold them accountable and you're blunt. Is that the coaching style, or is there more in depth to it?
So it really just depends on the client. And my coaching style, just like my social work style, is highly individualized. If someone needs me to be more of a listener than an active player, I'm totally going to listen. And some of my clients are just talking themselves through stuff, and I'm like, is that what you want to do? And they'll say yes. And then other clients, they need me to walk them through it. I'm like, okay, here's the goal. We're going to break this goal down into what we can do over the next couple of weeks. And then some people, they don't need like harsh Kayla. They need to be like, okay, was that the best idea? It's a question to them. They get to decide. It's more, I don't know if you know, there's a Quaker approach. So in the Quaker community, when somebody wants to make a major life change, they have a group of people and they basically surround them for 3 hours and ask them deep, thought-provoking questions. So
cool.
Arrives at their own solution. And so lots of times I do that with my clients. I'll just ask, so what would make you happy about that? What makes you unhappy about that? If you could change something about it, what would it be? They come to their own conclusions. I'm not choosing anything for them.
You're just asking the right questions, which is funny because my friend Marley is also a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll text her just for advice on things, which is always the wrong move because that bitch, I love her. I love her. And it's exactly what I need. But like, I'll be like, if I say I don't know to one of her questions, she'll say, well, figure it out and let me know.
Yes.
And I'm like, damn.
When you find that out, let me know.
And I'm like, can't you just tell me? She's like, no, when you figure it out, just come back to me. And I'm like, Marley. She's like, no.
Yes.
I'm like, okay. I'll be back. Let me go do some self-work.
Yes, because the answers often are within. When you are calling your best friend, your life coach, your sister, and you're complaining, he's doing this and he's doing that, and should I just break up with him? Why do you keep asking me something you know the answer to? And maybe
how many times have you asked me if you're going to break up with him? Maybe you need to listen to what you're asking.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, we talked on the 3rd, the 5th, and the 12th, and they were all the same conversation. So have you communicated it? So it's very much a question style where people search within, or I'll say to them, you know, I don't believe in setting goals past a year because so much can change in a year. So much can change in 6 months. So I'll say to them, this doesn't look like something we're going to be able to work on in the next 6 months. Is there something that's more important to you?
Okay, that's good. That's a good approach.
And
now, go ahead.
Yeah. No.
I was going to say, so if you were doing like the question style approach, and this is where I would have trouble. This is why I'm not a life coach, even though I think I'd be a great therapist and I have to tone myself back in. I just like giving advice, even though I don't take my own advice. Do you find it hard to not project your own values onto someone? Like if I'm so strongly, like, okay, for instance, like I have a friend that like, for instance, if her husband's just being a shithead or whatever, and she's constantly complaining, and it's been 5 years and nothing's changed and she's still complaining. And I'm finally like, why don't you just divorce him? Like, because I wouldn't be treated that way. So you shouldn't be treated that way. And me projecting how I feel about her relationship onto her. Do you find that hard to not sometimes, or do you already know how to separate it?
I think because I have been a social worker for over a decade.
Yeah.
But I put everything on the table. And so I'm like, I often ask them, if this was your daughter, if this was your sister, would you want them to be in this situation? Instead of saying, if it was me, girl, I wouldn't go up with this shit. Like, what advice would you give to your sister? And why are you not taking it? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, those are the questions that I ask. But I can easily see, because sometimes my clients are telling me something, it just burns me up on the inside. I'm like, he is a jerk. But that's their choice. And so we're given autonomy. That's a part of, you know, services, and you can choose not to take medications. You can choose not to go to therapy or not to do whatever. And so I'm like, you're choosing to stay in this relationship that's destroying you. And so I will say, since you're choosing to stay, it sounds like you want to stay. What can we do to make this easier for you? How can we maintain your mental health? How can we maintain your happiness in this situation? And when they go back, I'm like, however, you've chosen this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a reminder of, this is your choice. And it's not that I disprove or approve. It's, this is your choice. Only you can change that.
Yeah, I've got to get better at that. Like, it's something that I'm trying to work on because I do get very heated with my friends if like they're in a bad situation. Like I'm like, oh, stop. But I mean, then when I look at myself, I'm like, I'm doing the same shit. So John, look at your own life. But you know, they say if you're mad at someone or something or upset about like really strongly opinionated, it's a mirror reflecting you because it's happening in your own life. Is that true?
I find that in many ways, our opinions or how we feel about somebody is often a projection. And it's like, okay, where do I feel inadequate? Where do I feel like I'm not getting what I need? Where do I feel someone's treating me bad? Most of the time, our opinions have nothing to do with the other person. So it's a reflection of us.
Interesting. So, yeah, I need to do some self-work for sure. I'm going to have to sign up for your coaching.
And when you have someone else, often it's a sign of your inner work that needs to be done. So people's opinions is a reflection of them, and your opinion is a reflection of your own inner work.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to be talking later. Is that something that you do or no? Is it a conflict of interest? Like if I wanted to sign up with you because you know me and we're friends, or is it because we're so far removed since high school versus like if your sister or best friend wanted to sign up?
Right. So someone like you, we've been it's like what, 12, 13 years, right?
Yeah.
It would be easier to coach you than like my sister. And that's what I've told multiple people that I'm like, I love you so much, but I can't coach you because I'm biased to your situation. Right. I'm going to be like, stop being an ass. You're being dumb. So my closest friends, I do not coach. I call like my cousins, my sorority sisters, it's more mentorship where I'm like, then that's why you'll see like mentor on lots of my bio stuff. Cause it's like, I can't coach you because I'm attached to you because I'm going to tell you what Kayla would do with those harder versus someone else who I'm like, you're strong, you're independent, you've got this. So definitely a barrier with close people, but 10, 12 years, maybe even 5 years, depending on how much interaction, because I'm not who I was 5 years ago.
None of us are, and I hope that no one is. Like, unless you're a really good person, by all means, stay who you are. But I think we should all grow every year. Speaking of that, I did a podcast last May on that, and I titled it Growth Because We Can't Stay Fetuses Forever.
Nice.
But I love the fact that you said a minute ago that you ask them to look like, would you want your sister or daughter to be treated that way? Because I was dating a guy that like we had gotten in a fight or something. And that was the first thing I said to him. I said, would you want your daughter to be talked to the way you spoke to me? And like he thought about it. He was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, let's not do that. I'm someone's daughter. Yeah. It's like, let's not do that.
Yeah, we don't do that.
we're not going to do that. Anyways, do you see things online as a life coach, like when it comes to like people posting like sayings or anything that you think, oh, honey, don't listen to like best worst advice type situation? Like, do you think Ace Metaphor gives good advice, or do you think some of his stuff is way off-sided, or how do you feel about online advice?
So I think that people have to go with what resonates with him. I love Jay Shetty. He's amazing. I love Steven Speaks. He's amazing. Ace Metaphor, his stuff is hit or miss. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah. And then sometimes, dude, who hurt you? You know, because he is funny. And I think that sometimes people capitalize on a group of hurt women. And it's like, as long as you stay victimized, as long as you stay hurt, it's like, why are you doing that? And it's like, but you're not teaching them how to choose those people, how to see it early and be like, you know what, this isn't working for me. And so it's hit or miss. So people have to find someone who really resonates with them and they anchor onto that. And it doesn't mean you don't look around at other coaches. Like I follow tons of coaches, but I think that you have to find the person that resonates with you and stick with their content.
Have you seen Tony Gaskins online?
Yeah.
He is amazing. I heard him. My friend sent me one of a girls' podcast in Atlanta. I forget what it was called, but he was on their podcast. And I was just like, oh shit, he's giving some real advice. But he's also, like you said, he's telling you how to change it.
Yes.
So he's a good one. And have you seen Therapy Jeff online?
I've never seen Therapy Jeff.
Girl, he is the most unconventional therapist. Like he's a licensed therapist telling people like, why do you feel like dog shit? Okay, this is probably why. Reason number 1. Reason number 2.
I'm gonna write down Therapy Jeff.
He's hilarious. He's hilarious. He's a good one. But I follow Jay Shetty. I just read his book, 8 Rules of Love. Amazing book. Amazing book.
Yes.
So, I was gonna ask you, You said earlier your goal would be to transition from social work to life coach full time.
Yes.
Is that a 5-year, 10-year plan? Maybe sooner?
Maybe sooner. It all depends on how my cards are falling. I literally just came off of a 4-day boot camp for channeling, mastering main character energy. And then I did a bonus day, day 5. It was invigorating. I feel like with life coaching, I'm finally aligned. And what I see from other people, what I truly believe is when you're aligned, the money will come. Like it just starts coming. And so like I felt this fire that I haven't felt in years. And I feel like I have a message that women need to hear, and they need to hear it from someone who's lived it. Like you can hear it from a guy and you hear the guy's perspective, but you need to see someone who is got it out of the mud, literally.
Right.
Like,
right.
Picked up everything and started over twice. Most people don't do that. Most people don't have the courage to walk away the first time. And it's like the second time I was just like, oh, I've done this before. And so now it's a thing you have to watch, because once you're single for so long and once you walked away so many times, you have to start questioning yourself. Am I a runner? And it's like, no, in each phase of life, I have learned that I deserve better. And I'm finally at a place now where I'm like, I'm not settling for nothing. So if you want to be ridiculous, be that.
Well, you finally came into your higher power and your main character energy, which I love that you said main character energy, because I've seen a lot online where people are saying tap into your female power or your male power. But the fact that you just say main character, that's for anybody.
Yeah.
We all have our main character energy, whatever you want to call it, big dick energy in us. Like we all have that. And I love that you said that for all walks of life, all stages, all genders, no matter what. That's beautiful.
Yes. It's so important. Like so many of us get stuck playing a supporting role in our own biography. Like we're living out what our parents wanted us to do, doing what our sister wanted us to do. Oh, our kids are doing this. My husband said that. And it's like, what do you want? And why are you not doing it? And the thing I think I tried to drive home most is main character doesn't mean only character. When you say main character, people are like, oh, she's selfish, she's stuck up, she's grandiose. And it's like, no, this is just my fucking life. To do what I want and what's best for me.
So it's funny that you said that, and I hope Courtney's not listening to this. Me and my friend Courtney, well, if you are, she already knows. So I went to a wedding 2-3 weeks ago with my friend Kaylin, and me and Courtney stayed in the same Airbnb. And it was like 10:30 at night, and I was ready to go to bed because I get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning just on a normal day, and if I go to bed at 2, I'm getting up at 6. And I was there for the wedding, like I wasn't there to party, like. So, and I just can't do it anymore. Like I can't drink all night, get up and just go. You know, I have autoimmune issues. I have thyroid problems. So my hormones get all out of whack, whatever. So it's like 10:30, you know, I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna go to bed because I'm not going to fall right to sleep. It's going to take me a little bit. Yeah. She's like, no, stay up. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. So the first night she just let it go. Second night, not so much. She goes like, you just do what you want to do. And I was like, you're fucking right. I do. I'm a fucking adult.
Yes.
We made up. We're fine. But I was like, you're fucking right. I go to bed when I want to go to bed.
Right. Why wouldn't I?
So it's funny that you say that.
Yes.
I'm trying to do more of that because people who maybe knew me in the ER, like I came off as this bitch persona, and I explained that a little bit more in last week's episode, where it was more of a protective mechanism. Like I had to shut off all the emotions. I was going through a lot in my personal life. I didn't really want to jive and talk to people. I just wanted to come in, do my job, and go home. Yeah. But I'm a very sensitive person. Like I always think people are mad at me, or I was a people pleaser. Like I just want, and then I'd be like, why don't they like me? Da, da, da. And I'm slowly getting out of that. Like, you know, if you don't like me, I'm not for everyone. No. That's okay. Somebody else will.
You're not for everyone, and everyone's not for you, boo.
Right. and it took a lot of pressure off, because when you try to be perfect all the time, whether that be image, body, you know, people pleasing, that is a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. That is cortisol inducing, spiking stress.
It is. And then your body lives in this response. It's not response. It's reaction. It's not response. Response is well thought out. React is just go, right? So I'm a recovering people pleaser as well. And people pleasing is born out of trauma, because you learn, if I shut up and don't rock the boat, then no one gets mad. No one goes off the deep end. No one's upset with me.
That makes so much sense, because you know my sister.
Yes. No one's upset with me. Everything is good because I'm just going to shut up. And so you learn that early in life, and then you do it in friendships, you do it in relationships, and then you do it at work, and then you are crying, screaming, feeling abused, overused, covering people's shifts that you don't even like because you don't want anybody to be mad. And it's like, at one point you wake up and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, and it turns into like you start out people pleasing and then you turn into the bitch because you do start crying and screaming. Like you just take so much on and then you can't anymore and you erupt and you explode. And everyone's like, where is this coming from? I thought you were fine with this situation.
They're like, she's crazy. And it's
right.
No, you just didn't. You have to find your voice. And once you find your voice, I encourage people all the time to never shut up. Once you find your voice, never shut up. Be loud, be vocal, be very adamant about advocating for yourself. And that's okay.
I think you just literally connected something for me because I was just like, epiphany moment. Sometimes when I podcast, it's literally like therapy. And I'm like, I think this is why I continue to do it, because when you say things out loud and you talk to other people, you're like, huh, interesting. Never thought of it from that perspective.
Good. It's little things. It's the little things. You're like, oh, no wonder. And then you don't feel so broken.
Right.
So more people do that than just me.
So I want to transition just a little bit into some skincare stuff because I don't know where you are on that journey. And then I want to go back to the life coaching. So for those that don't know, Kayla also was a skincare consultant with, is it Pomifera? Is that how you say it?
Yes, with Pomifera. So I started my skincare journey with Pomifera in 2020. So the company launched in February. I joined in May or June. Crazy thing. And I decided that I was going to call off my wedding and leave my fiance. But I've been living in a 2-income house for so long, and my children had just moved in with their dad. I was like, there's no way that I can go back. Like, I like my lattes. I like my Louis Vuitton.
I like my lifestyle. So, bitch, got to make some money.
So, right, got to make some money. And I'm like, okay, how can I keep using my premium skincare and keep my lattes every single day? And so I was like, I'm going to sell this skincare. And so I just kind of jumped into it. I'd sold Mary Kay briefly before, but I'd never really taken that type of transition, and I loved it. I still love it. I picked up Beauty Society, and I'm very vocal that for my facial care, I use Beauty Society strictly. I still use Pomifera for body care. But that journey in itself got me to where I am with life coaching because I started going live, because I started interacting with more people and boosted my engagement and visibility.
So everything literally laid out for you what you were supposed to do when it was supposed to happen.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's like a true, like you can actually like see it now, maybe not in the moment of the journey, but now you can look back and go, well, this actually inspired me to do something else.
Yes, because when you go live, nobody wants to see you wash your face. I would go live and give like life strategy tips and relationship advice because I was going through a horrible breakup. And then at the end, I'd be like, oh yeah, I just washed my face with this and I use this. And if you're interested, let me know. And like, that was kind of the end.
So were you doing like get readies with me before they were get readies with me?
I was doing like get readies with me. And then I had the segment that I started first was called the wine down. And so on Wednesday nights, I would drink wine and I would talk about how crappy my week had been. And what
How did I miss this?
Girl, it was like a year. What changes I had made, like my transition from being like all booed up to like dating and like circle dating. Like I talked about everything, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and this week Pomifera is dropping, soap. So it was just my way of like, literally it was therapy, of venting in a way that was productive. So I did that, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I could totally do life coaching, because people were like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Me too. You're so strong. I could never do that. And I'm like, I'm helping all these people. Maybe life coaching's not a bad idea.
That's awesome. I like it. So when did you transition from Pomifera to, you said Beauty Society?
Yeah, so I picked Beauty Society last May, and so I am still an ambassador for both. But Beauty Society, I'm an open book. So last February, I stopped taking birth control after 19 years because my hormones were crazy. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I was like, I'm trying anything. So I stopped taking birth control, and I had this hormonal outbreak from hell, and nothing Pomifera was working for me. And one of my friends who also sells Pomifera said, you should try Beauty Society and see if it helps. Literally, my skin was cleared up in like 2.5 weeks. And I was like, I don't know what this Jesus spit is, but I need it.
This Jesus spit. You also need to like get into stand-up comedy, okay? That's what you also need to do. You could do like a singing standing comedy stand-up act. Like, that's what you should do.
Yes. So it cleared my face. I loved it. And so I also am an ambassador for that. You don't see a lot of skincare stuff from me as much as life coaching now because of the push. But if people ask me, I'm very open about it. Yes, I'll sell it to you. I think that people get really scared of the MLM culture.
Yeah.
You're going to scam me. You're going to just go get a real job. It's like, girl, like if you had like the best tanning lotion ever, you'd be like, I got this on Amazon for $15, and you wouldn't think anything about it.
Right.
And
it's just influencing is influencing.
Yes, influencing is influencing. So you've got to have that mentality about it. And once I don't think selling is weird at all. If people ask me, I'm going to give it to you. If there's a special, I'm like, hey, there's a special, but it doesn't mean anything about me if people say no.
Right. So, funny story. This has nothing to do with anything, but it just popped in my brain. So the Get Readies with me, the GRWM? Girl, I literally just found out that it was Get Ready with Me like probably 3 months ago because everybody kept posting like capital GRWM on their things. And I was like, what the fuck is Grum? Grum. I was like, so I Googled it. I said, oh my God, Get Ready with Me. And I was like, how old am I? Like,
I actually encourage my clients to do those and not necessarily to post, but it's like you spend your day scrolling through Instagram watching some weirdo get ready. Why can you not be that person? Like, it makes you feel like I'm that girl. Like, watch me make my oatmeal.
No, I used to, when I had my nutrition stuff, I used to like, hey, meal prep with me. It felt so awkward, but it was so funny, all the DMs that I would get. Like, because I would just, I remember having a big cucumber one time, and I was like swinging around, and all of a sudden I realized, I was like, okay, this looks very sexual, and I just set it down, and my friend literally like DM'd me. She said, that was so funny. I was like, because I even had to be like, hold on, I'll be back. Because I couldn't stop laughing. I was just like, why did I do that? I was like, but of course I was like, I'm not redoing this. Like, I'm posting it.
No. That's funny.
So, thank you so much for doing this podcast with me and catching up. Tell everyone how they can become a client of yours, how they can get in touch, where they can follow you, pimp yourself out, do all the things.
Yes. So I am Kala with the Curlz. It's KALA_ with the Curlz. Curlz has a Z. And you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Kala Simmons. In my Facebook bio, I have the link for my Calendly. I have Get to Know Coach K, and that shows you all of my programs. Basically, I'm also on TikTok. Everything is at Kala_ with the Curlz. When I created that handle, I had no idea it was going to grow into this. Everything is underneath the Kala with the Curlz collective because I do market and sell and provide so many services.
Right. And I will link all your, well, I don't know how to link TikTok yet. But I'll link your Facebook and I will link your Instagram in the show notes. So if anyone wants to just click on it, it'll just take them straight there.
Yeah, absolutely. So when people if they're interested in signing up for coaching with me, I have group coaching. I also offer a bump up, a step up, which is one-on-one, and you get the group coaching. The initial consult is free. So if you just want to fill out the thing and chat with me to see if I'm a good fit, you definitely can do that for absolutely free. And my Calendly is open, so people self-schedule.
Oh, awesome.
I block off the days that I'm absolutely not going to be coaching because you got to create boundaries. But like, they self-schedule, so it's not like you're waiting in line to see when you can get in. You look at your schedule and you look at mine and you schedule yourself.
I love the fact that you do a free consultation because I truly wish that therapy was the same way, because you don't know if you're going to jive with someone in their style. Like, everyone's style is different on how they do therapy or how they do coaching. And I wish therapists, so you didn't have to jump and tell that trauma story all over again. Like, can we just do like a 15-minute consult? See, like, what's your style? How are you going to help me? Like, you might have to bring stuff out of me. Like,
Yes, that's exactly why I do it, because it's like, I might not be the person for you, and I don't want you to be out a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time, and I can refer you to somebody else. Or you might be like, I love you so much, let's get scheduled right now. So either way, I want therapy to be as available, as affordable, and as comfortable for everybody who wants to do it.
And that's amazing, and that's a blessing that you are. But also, last question I have for you, why are you not singing? Sorry, 2 questions. Why are you not singing, and when are you going to start?
I'm not singing. I sing all the time. So what's interesting is that's how I knew I had failed myself again, Jonna, because I stopped singing. And my dad said to me maybe 3 years ago, he's like, baby girl, you never sing anymore. And that's when I was like,
well, you used to be online singing in your stories.
And I did a lot at Christmas. I don't know how you missed them, but I did a lot at Christmas, and probably coming up soon because it'll be summer. I sing every now and then, and I do sing occasionally still at church. I don't know. It's something I might mix in there.
Girl, you have a gift from God and you need to use it. Your voice is amazing. God rest Andrew's soul. But I still remember, that was one of our friends in high school, but when y'all did the Mariah Carey Boys to Men duet in the talent show, and everybody was just like crying, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yes.
You have to continue singing, and I don't know how I missed that, but I'm going to like subscribe to your thing so that like it pops up. Kayla just posted a story.
Yes, please, because I do sing from time to time. But thank you. That means so much to me.
All right. Well, guys, that is all for today's episode. And until next week, as always, bye.